here's Brody Brazil.
I'll tell you what, if you're looking for job security, don't ever become an NHL coach. I mean, it's always been that way, that you're lucky to have 2 or 3 seasons on average as a bench boss. But lately, with this copycat league, coaches are getting fired and replaced and removed and dismissed and all those words at such a rapid rate. It really is a coaching carousel right now. And yeah, of course, that's my image right here. It literally is that carousel that keeps turning. Coach gets off the horse, gets back on the horse. We'll talk about this in detail in this video, but I want to show you what Pierre LeBrun pointed out. Pierre, by the way, is the dude. He's so good at all this stuff, and his thought process on this, the question he asked to Pete DeBoer, and him just noticing this, I think, is the true inspiration of why I wanted to talk about it. Pierre asked Dallas Stars head coach Peter DeBoer about having 19 head coaching changes in the NHL since the end of last season. And a few of those have happened within the last few weeks as the season has ended, obviously in Toronto and San Jose and a couple others to name a few. But Pierre asked Pete DeBoer about having 19 head coaching changes since the end of last season. Let's remember, there's only 32 total teams. That's a majority of teams since last season have changed their head coach. And I loved Pete DeBoer's response. I've always respected Pete DeBoer as a head coach, short time here in San Jose, but the way he puts this is excellent. Quote, "It's insanity. We coach in an age where everyone talks about the modern athlete building relationships in order to coach them. How do you do that with that kind of turnover? It's like going on a date and getting married and divorced before the appetizers show up. I don't get it, but that's the world we live in." Look at Pierre throwing in the fire emoji because he knows it's true. I know it's true. And this is kind of a message for hockey teams that unless you have a real good reason to do this, think about it. Maybe it's a little bit premature to dismiss your coach. So, but why do teams do this? What's the overall reason why coaches get fired, especially in the NHL? It's because in a hard salary cap situation and some immovable pieces occasionally, when you're looking to change a team, it's so much easier to replace the head coach or some of the coaching staff versus turning over the entire roster. It's hard to make player trades. You get judged even harder on that. It almost feels like the role of a coach, the presence of a coach is not as pivotal to your team as the actual players. And in some instances, right, the players do the job on the ice there, that there are the performers. But you'd have to think that a coach who sets the tone and dials in the strategy and has so many responsibilities, you would think there would be a little bit more of a priority on the coach. But again, when you're looking to repaint the room, it's so much easier just to change the coach rather than any of the players. And so my belief is this, with the coaching carousel, I literally think about it that way. And this is kind of a joke, but I'm also kind of serious in saying this. I've always felt that there's like 36 total NHL coaches. 32 of them have a job and the other 4 are about to get a job when the next 4 firings happen. And it's the same carousel of people, and they just keep getting recycled. And if you look at a resume, like how many different NHL teams have you coached? For some guys, it's like 3, 4, 5, and 6 teams. And this is something I talked to Greg Wyshynski about recently here on the channel. Is the NHL a little bit too circular in its coaching community? Like, have they never branched out a little bit? I feel like it's the same names and faces year after year.
It is. And there's 2 reasons for that. The first is hockey nepotism, which is that you are my friend. We used to play hockey together, and now I'm going to hire you to be my coach. You saw that with the Devils and bringing in Travis Green to replace Lindy Ruff. Travis Green and Tom Fitzgerald were teammates when they played in the NHL together. So you see a lot of that. And then also, you know, there's the comfort of the known versus sticking your neck out and trying to hire the unknown. And, you know, a lot of times a coach that's a proven commodity is going to get another chance before a guy in college or a guy in juniors or an assistant coach. And you know, this season has shown that, you know, taking a chance on somebody could pay dividends. You look at Spencer Carberry with the Washington Capitals. Yeah, a lot of that is the product of better than expected goaltending from Charlie Lindgren, but he's also found a way to, you know, integrate young players into a veteran lineup, and the team has thrived. You know, I think thinking outside the box with younger coaches, thinking outside the box with coaches that don't have the commensurate NHL experience, could pay dividends. It just takes a good amount of bravery to do that. And a lot of GMs don't necessarily want to put themselves on the line like that.
I should have re-edited that so I did not appear in any of that video. I could have just used Greg's shot because I was weirded out seeing myself. But he's right. Across the NHL, there's a comfort factor. And, well, you've done this before. And, well, we could try somebody new, but we're a little bit intimidated by that. Going back to why coaches even get fired. Number one, it was a good team that didn't live up to great expectations, right? You make the playoffs, but that's not good enough. We expect you to win the Stanley Cup, which is hard, right? Only one team out of 32 gets to do it. So you roll the dice on that as a head coach, and that's why your time might be limited. An unknown group, like you didn't know what they were supposed to be and maybe a playoff team, but then it turns out they weren't. And so an unknown group, I don't mean like you didn't know who they were, but you didn't know their capabilities, and they turned out to be worse than the average expectation. It could also be a situation where the team is doing just fine, but they're struggling to reach the next steps. They're a known commodity, but they can't figure out a way to become better. And so a lot of times you hear that phrase, we were just looking for a new voice inside the dressing room. And that's unfortunate because it doesn't mean that coach and their staff is not trying to pull every string and hit every bell and whistle they've got. It's just that sometimes, and it's human nature, sometimes a new voice can actually get a group to that next level. But I don't know that that's a guarantee by any means. And last but not least here, it's a copycat league. And so the NHL says, well, they just changed their coach. Maybe we ought to think about that. Yeah, let's do that. It's in a weird way. There is some inspiration, I kid you not, by the fact that it's so commonplace right now that it's contagious to a certain degree. This has always been a copy league. We need to be bigger. All of a sudden now we need to be smaller and faster. All of a sudden we need to do this more. All of a sudden it's about shot quantity, and then it's about shot quality. Anyway, bottom line is, it is a copycat league going from the strategy side to even the personnel side, and so that doesn't surprise me at all. It is a constant coaching carousel. Let me just say this. I agree with Pete DeBoer. I don't know if I got to say that enough when his quote was on the screen, but like, consistency does offer you something. And developing a longer-term relationship, especially with your more established and veteran and let's be honest, star-type players, you'd rather have that if given the opportunity. And I do feel like in some cases, yeah, it's obvious that a coach was about to get fired. And the writing was on the wall, and there was a certain threshold. If they didn't meet it, fine, you understand it. But a lot of times, you kind of arrive in that 50-50 spot. Are they going to stay? Are they going to go? And it turns out, generally, lately, the trend is that they go rather than stay. Hey, you made it here to the end of this video. I really appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. That'll greatly help me and this video and this channel. And by the way, you should comment on this video. Tell me what you think about the NHL's coaching carousel down below. Also, go down there and hit that subscribe button because that's the way I know I get to see you back here next time. Take care.